Welcome, everyone, to another Tundra rankings here for the GBA. Yes. Oh, before we start, let me share this to you guys. My bad. Let me click this and share it over. This is not good. Discord. Sorry, guys. Give me a second here. All right. It has been shared. Hope some of you are on your lunch, want to hang out for a second. We are live. How do I get out of here? Go back. Okay, we're back. All right, welcome everyone to another GBA video from the Tundra. We've had some interesting matchups these past couple of weeks. We've seen some high-scoring weeks, and I feel like last week we kind of had a lower-scoring week. So this is. I'm gonna move this camera. We're gonna move down here today. Get the low view of me. But yeah, we've had some lower scoring weeks. I think last week was a little bit lower scoring, and then this week we've seen. Last week it was very high scoring with some crazy matchups. So let's run through these here, and I'll talk a little bit about what we've seen last week. So matchup wise, the Beecher Creatures took down Sergio, and the Beecher Creatures moved to 3-1, while the Sergio's team falls to 1-3. That totaled up to 456 to 379. Freaking the Sheets had a great performance last week, dropping 455, but fell to Watts, who dropped to 486 on Daniel. So good week, both guys. Just Watts' team is Watts' team. The Lumberjacks fall just barely to Clarence Falls, who moves to 3-1. Lumberjacks start out 0-4. Was not expecting them to be 0-4 to start the year, but they are. And Trent and Zubak falls 464 to 469, and the Taxpayers take another one there, and they move to 4-0. The Flagrant Fowlers take down Wyatt and the Blade Breakers. The Fowlers drop 442, the Blade Breakers 366. So the Fowlers move to 3-1, and Wyatt moves to 1-3. We had some high scores last week. Cade Cunningham dropped a 101, one of the craziest games I've ever seen. I think he took the most shot attempts in a game ever. And Daniel had 101 from Cade and still ended up dropping that one. I thought he might have a chance after that night, but just didn't work out. Marsh had a 62-piece from Donovan Mitchell. I believe that was probably against the Heat. That one went into overtime. And then Jaylen Brown had a 62-piece as well against the Clippers. Give me 1 second. All right. And then Scotty Barnes for Sergio dropped a 69-piece. And then Jokic with an 89 for Watts. Most efficient manager last week was Trenton, who hit 100% efficiency. Not sure I've ever seen that. Actually, ever. So good job, Trent. I know it wasn't enough to get the win, but he was very efficient last week. So let's talk a little bit about, it's been, I think, 3 weeks since we've seen everybody. Right now, it looks like Watts is kind of the runaway favorite. He's 4-0. Marsh is also 4-0, but Watts' team has been very impressive so far. Marsh's team might be the only team that might be able to knock him off, in my opinion. And then the Fowlers now are third in those standings at 3-1. The Creatures, comeback season for the Creatures, 3-1, fourth or fifth in scoring and fourth in scoring in the league. Fifth in scoring in the league right now. So the Creatures are on the come up from last year. And then Clarence is fifth in the league right now at 3-1 with he's actually kind of low in scoring, but he's got 3 wins. Trent is sitting at sixth with fourth most points scored and sitting at 1-3. The Blade Breakers kind of in that similar spot as Clarence, but he is 1-3. And then Sergio does have a win. Daniel is 0-4, and Murph is 0-4. So we have some teams that are definitely at the bottom and struggling early. All right. Let's talk a little bit about each team here. We're going to get into the rankings. At number 10, I have Daniel actually at number 10. Actually, I'm going to take that back. Daniel, you're at 9. Murph, you're at 10. Murph's team might be better than Daniel's, but Daniel did just drop a 440 last week, so I have a tough time ranking him that low. But the Lumberjacks, on paper, they've been solid. He lost Bancaro. Looks like Bancaro's out for a little while. Doesn't say exactly how long he will be out, but I'm guessing it'll probably be a week or two. Alex Sarr I've been watching a couple Wizards games here and there. He looks like the real deal. Probably a potential all-star at some point. He has some pieces here with Anthony Edwards. Cooper Flagg has looked better these past couple of weeks. LaMelo, his time in Charlotte may be coming to an end. I've heard some rumors swirling about LaMelo. It'll be interesting to see where he turns up. And then Michael Porter has been one of the most impressive young players so far this year with the Nets. Has totally become a different type of player, and it's been a good pickup for Murph. Kind of look through a couple of these other pieces. The reason I think that this team is struggling mainly is just depth. I mean, beyond those guys I mentioned, his starting lineup is really solid, but it's the other guys that just aren't producing. He doesn't have the depth to be consistent week in and week out. Yes, there will be weeks that he has good weeks, but he's going to have all of his guys show up and stay healthy. At number 9, we have Daniel. Daniel right now is got maybe 2 of the best guards in the league with Cade and Jaylen Brown. Both have been outstanding to start the year. But as you kind of look down this lineup, I mean, Jared Allen hasn't been Jared Allen so far this year. Okongwu has had some decent games. But, depending on guys like Naz Reid, Wendell Carter, he still has Embiid. I mean, he's very center heavy, and it seems like the problem in the league is that centers just don't stay healthy. I will say Podol for the Raptors has been impressive so far this year. So, Daniel still probably is in a more of a teardown than he's looking to improve his score every week. I think he's more of a teardown. He needs probably to think about considering a teardown mode. But I mean, he has the main piece in Cade. I wouldn't expect him to ever move Cade. But guys like Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Draymond still has value. Maybe a Jared Allen is the type of guy he needs to move. And just try to get some more youth on his roster. I think there's guys out there in the league that would be willing to take some of those guys on. So that is what we're looking at for number 9. At number 8, I have, this is a tough one. I think I'm going to go with Wyatt here. He made a move with Trent last week, picked up Emmanuel quickly. But, I mean, up and down this lineup, it's just not great. This team is in trouble. He's very hurt. Lauri Markkanen has probably been his brightest spot. Porzingis hasn't looked great. Ayton hasn't looked great. This team may be in a teardown mode as soon as tomorrow. Team's just not healthy, and it's tough to be competitive when your team's not healthy. I mean, Tatum and Lillard being out before the season even started. Might get one of those guys back before the end of the year, but yeah, Randall still solid, but there's just not much meat on the bone with this team. It's more of a bone in itself. There's just nothing there that really excites me, and I don't think that the ceiling is there for this team. So they're coming in at number 8. Could be potentially lower in weeks to come. At number 7, man, this is a tough one. I think I got to go Clarence at 7. Clarence's team has been solid. They're 3-1. But scoring-wise, they just aren't producing the numbers above 400 week in and week out. Seems like they kind of get stuck in that 360 to 380 range, which is good. But to be considered elite, I don't think that is necessarily in the works. Yeah, I mean, Karl Anthony Towns has been the Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, his guard play between Maxey, Sharp, Thompson is as impressive as it gets in the league. And then having Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Duran are also BJ Edgecombe has looked the part of a lottery pick so far. And then, yeah, just from there, it's just depth. And if he can get healthy, I think this team gets LeBron back. If Daniels starts playing like Daniels knows how to, this team is very good and very deep. And yeah, if he gets Kyrie back, he can get Kawhi. This team is got top 4 potential. It just doesn't seem like they're ever healthy all at the same time, and that's the problem we talked about a couple of years ago, where it seems like aging teams, they end up aging. And what happens when you age in the NBA? Well, you're sitting back to backs first. 2, you're getting extended rest once your team's in the playoffs. And it just doesn't, there's no incentive for some of these older players to play every single game. They get healthy for the playoffs and they play in the playoffs. So the name value is there on paper, but the ability to show up every day at work necessarily isn't. So right now I have him at 7. At number 6, we are going to put Sergio at 6. Yeah, down this, you got De'Aaron Fox back, which is a big piece to get back. Desmond Bane has looked better as of late. Ryan Rollins has been a nice pickup for him as well. Brandon Ingram has looked really good in Toronto. Scotty Barnes has also looked really good in Toronto. Sengun is a type of guy kind of similar to Sarr, maybe a little better player than Sarr, but he has looked very good. John Morant hasn't been healthy, and when he has played, has looked very rusty. I'm thinking that there may be a potential departure from Memphis for Ja in the future. But then, like, Cason Wallace has been a nice piece for the OKC, but it really just kind of falls off after you kind of get into the bench. A lot of guys that are averaging, 20 to 25 points. And then Bam Adebayo also being out doesn't help this team much either. Right now, I mean, I think this team is, I think they have a higher floor, but I think their ceiling is also capped. I think it's just a lot of consistent guys, and decent role players. So I think we're going to see him kind of remain right in the middle of this pack. At number 5, I have Hit It From Zubac and Trent. His team is 1-3 right now. Quentin Grimes is definitely overproduced for Trent. Miles Turner has looked solid. Aaron Gordon has still looked good. Zubac has had his games. And then obviously, he has a lot of older players and Steph Curry, Jalen Brunson, CJ McCollum, DeMar DeRozan, Jimmy Buckets. You guys kind of know what you're getting from those guys week in and week out. And then, Queta's had even some nice games for Boston. Mark Williams has looked good. It's just a matter of him staying healthy. This team, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see if Trent can't get on the win train, what direction he goes with this team. He says he wants to compete with Watts this year, but he's going to need all these guys to stay healthy. Luckily, with guys like DeRozan and Jimmy Butler, those guys tend to even play. Those guys play week in and week out. They barely ever miss games, which is great. And Steph is kind of the same way. He might miss 2 or 3 weeks of the year at some point. But this team's ceiling is high, but the floor is also very low. But that's why I have him at 5. I think even at 1-3, he's still been one of the better point-producing teams in the league. So Trent is at 5. At number 4, we have the Creatures. Creatures have looked good. Creatures have been on the come up a little bit. This team is overperforming my expectations, but a lot of this youth is starting to show some signs of being really solid. Jeremiah Fears has been getting minutes with the Pelicans. It seems like his role has continued to grow. I'm getting Benedict Mathurin back this week, which is huge. Josh Giddey has been unbelievable. He has dropped, it seems like 40s, 50s, and 60s almost every week. He's in that range. Buzelis has looked the part. He's getting the minutes. He's putting up 40 at least once a week. Khalil Ware has been better with Bam Adebayo out. Jovic has even popped off. Wemby is Wemby. If he can give me a 60 to 70, that is amazing. Pritchard has been good. Nurkic has been good now that Kessler's out. And then, Keyshawn George has looked pretty solid. Lost Christian Braun. He's probably out till the new year, which sucks. Koulibaly coming back is a great piece. And then, Aldama's been solid. Clowney's been solid. Not really too many gripes with this team right now. But I plan on, I don't know if this team is necessarily performing at its ceiling right now. Dropping 450 last week was this is a team I didn't expect to break 400 too often this year. So it makes me think that maybe this team is, overperforming a little bit early on in the season, but I'm okay with that whenever you have a bunch of youth on this team. To overperform at times, especially this early in the season, is a welcome sight for a team like last year that sometimes would struggle to break 320. So this is exciting. Maybe I'm overranked. Maybe I need to be 5, 6 if this team comes down to earth. But to me, losing Walker Kessler hurts. But to get, pick up Nurkic, who's been solid. And then, like I said, Ware kind of stepping up. Some of those guys from the Wizards stepping up have been really nice. So if I can stay healthy, I think this team has a decent chance at the playoffs. And I don't think it's necessarily a title contending team, but a team that you can't go in and week out and just expect to win. So they're at 4. At number 3, I want to shake this up, but I don't think I can. Flagrant Fowlers are coming in at 3. This team is getting Paul George back this week, which is huge. Jaime Jaquez has been awesome. I don't know if anybody has been watching the Heat games as much as I have. He's been one of their best players, and he is a very creative scorer. Definitely looking forward to seeing what his role looks like once Tyler Hero comes back. Miles Bridges has had some games lately. Don't think you can count him out. He's definitely been kind of a guy that I expected his career to be over a couple of years ago, and he's come back and he's played very well. Chet Holmgren has been solid. If you can keep Giannis healthy, picks up Derek Lively, best of luck. Russell Westbrook had a couple big games. Cam Thomas is out. How long is he out? It's like he's going to be out for probably a week or two, maybe longer. But yeah, I mean, this team is solid, high ceiling, high floor. That's what you want when it comes to this team. Jaren Jackson really has, I got to say this, Jaren Jackson really hasn't impressed much this year. We'll see if he can get it turned around. Zachary Rissich, that guy that was the number 1 overall pick, I believe, a couple of years ago for the Hawks, has started to get some minutes. Kind of impressive to watch. He's had a couple good games here and there. But, yeah, this team, if it can get healthy, I think is, clearly a top 3 team in the league. I've already, ranked them there. So, yeah, I think Michael's in a good spot, starting out 3-1, and scoring a pretty decent amount week in and week out. But we'll see what happens with this team as we go along. At number 2, we have the Arlington Tax Evaders. Had a really strong showing last week, and most of that's been on the back of Donovan Mitchell and really Donovan Mitchell. He's been very good so far this year and been kind of a shot chucker a little bit at times. Looks like somebody that belongs on Michael's team, if we're being honest. But, D-Book, Harden still being Harden, Josh Hart. RJ Barrett has looked good in Toronto as well. DiVincenzo's looked good in Minnesota. And then, getting Doncic back is huge for him. Keyshawn George is looking like probably might be 6th man of the year for Utah right now. Looking very good. Jalen Johnson has been a stud. So yeah, I mean, he's got depth, got a nice ceiling, got a high floor. That's what you want to hear. And then lastly, Watts. What do I have to say about him anymore? Deepest team in the league. I'm just going to keep saying it in hopes that it doesn't happen, but this team should win a championship this year. And, Sabonis hasn't really been the Sabonis of old. But, having KD as somebody that you can just throw into your lineup, and man, I don't know. This team's deep. This team's good. The ceiling is just so high. I don't really have too much to say. I mean, even on his taxi squad, like Ron Holland has been solid. So it's tough to say what we'll see from, this team going forward, but I think it's going to be, upper echelon type stuff week in and week out. So that's what I have for you guys this week. I'll run through the matchups real quick. Trying to keep this under 25 minutes was my goal. Ooh, we got Creatures taking on Clarence, both 3-1 teams. It should be a fun matchup. Should be about like last week against Sergio. Should come down to Sunday. We got the Tax Evaders taking on Daniel and freaking the Sheets. Expect the Tax Evaders to come out on top. We got the Lumberjacks and Sergio. I'm actually taking the Lumberjacks here. I think the Lumberjacks get one. They need one badly. Watts going up against the Blade Breakers. I'm taking Watts. And then good matchup here. I'm looking forward to this one. We got Trent versus the Flagrant Fowlers. And I'm going to take the Fowlers in this one. I think the Fowlers just have too much firepower for Trent to handle. So that is what we got. I will see you guys in probably 2 weeks. See ya.